The Trump administration is doubling down on its move to occupy Venezuela and the capture of the country's president, Nicolas Maduro.
We're not afraid of boots on the ground if we have to have. We had boots on the ground last night at a very high level, actually. We're not afraid of it. We don't mind saying it. But we're going to make sure that that country is run properly. We're not doing this in vain.
America can project our will anywhere, anytime. Nicolas Maduro had his chance, just like Iran had their chance, until they didn't and until he didn't. He effed around, and he found out.
This comes despite looming questions about President Trump's legal authority to carry out these actions. Our next guest, Congressman Jason Crow, is one of the 6 lawmakers who encouraged U.S. service members in November to refuse illegal military orders that violate the Constitution. Congressman Jason Crow, who serves on the Armed Services and Intelligence Committee, joins us now. Congressman Crow, thank you very much for coming back to the weekend. I want to read something to you that Secretary of State Marco Rubio said on ABC this week. He said this was not an action that required Congress, nor would it require Congress. I don't know. Seems to me that what they did in terms of snatching the leader of another country and bringing them to the United States would absolutely require at least consultation with Congress.
That's right, Jonathan. You don't have to be a legal scholar or a professor of government to understand that this falls squarely in the constitutional role of the United States Congress. Right? This was an offensive operation, deposing a foreign leader. By Donald Trump's own admission, we are now running the country of Venezuela. This is exactly what the founders of our Constitution delegated to the United States Congress, the most accountable branch of government closest to the people. You know, I am haunted by the ghosts of Iraq and Afghanistan. You know, here we are running a country again, investing God knows how much money into the rebuilding and running of Venezuela in the months and years ahead, after we just spent 2 decades, trillions of dollars, thousands of U.S. lives doing this in Iraq and Afghanistan, and it ended very poorly.
And just to be clear, you are a Bronze Star combat veteran in tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. Sorry, Jackie.
Well, so what exactly then are you proposing happens next, other than trying to curb the administration's power right now and prevent another incursion or sort of kinetic action that Trump seems to be threatening? Do you just want the U.S. to fully disengage, make sure there's no U.S. occupation, and that the country descends into chaos? Or what do you think should happen next right now?
Well, there's a tremendous amount of damage already done. There's reputational damage. I mean, in the eyes of the rest of the world, the United States has been turned into a bully by Donald Trump. You know, all of this talk about asserting our will on other countries. What the world sees is the United States just disrespecting people's sovereignty, doing the same types of things that other countries that we have opposed, our adversaries, would do. Right? And let's also look at what Donald Trump has done with regard to Russia and China. You know, he pounded his chest during the campaign trail and said he would be tough on China in particular. In the eyes of China and Russia now, they have been given a free pass to do the same thing to Taiwan, to NATO, to our allies, to our friends around the world. So Donald Trump has created a permission structure. So what we have to do now is, Congress needs to assert its authority and get involved and get briefed and get information about what the exit plan is and what the strategy is to make sure we don't get pulled into yet another nation-building quagmire in Venezuela, because the American people do not want that. I cannot tell you how deeply unpopular that would be. And then B, what we need to do is ensure that we are engaging with our allies, engaging with folks who are threatened by Russia and China, and figuring out how we repair the damage done by the precedent that Donald Trump just set yesterday.
So do you think there's a way to support the country without sending U.S. troops?
Well, that's why we need information. You know, we are sitting here, the United States Congress has been given no information, no briefings, no hearings, no oversight, none of the things that our Constitution and that Congress is delegated and responsible for doing. And then on a personal level, you know, let's zoom back out to the troops here and how we should support our troops. You know, I'm a 3-time combat veteran, and when I hear a 5-time draft dodger like Donald Trump say that he has no problem putting boots on the ground in Venezuela, I get a little hot. Excuse me, but you know, I learned a long time ago that when when elites and other people in Washington bang the war drums and talk tough, it's young kids like me from rural towns, people across the country, sons and daughters, brothers and sisters that had to pick up guns and get into helicopters and do the tough work. So my job is to make sure they are not being put in tough situations yet again.
Congressman, I'm so glad you made that point, because as Donald Trump and frankly, the entire administration was talking yesterday in that press conference, I didn't really hear, I don't know, a sympathy for what could happen to our troops. If, you know, he said, we don't care about boots on the ground, right? That is when people hear boots on the ground, you're a vet. My dad was in the Army and participated in every war since 1989 in American history. And so, like, I think of fathers leaving. I think of my friends' parents leaving and not coming back. And it feels to me that this president, and the way that he talked yesterday, is both symbolically and materially using the U.S. military and leveraging them for a piece of political theater when he goes out and operates in these foreign interventions, or even just talking about them in general.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, I'm struggling with the complete disregard and disrespect of our military by Donald Trump, who has never understood what service and sacrifice is about. You know, he's a man who views the world in a series of business transactions and what is in it for him. The idea of selfless service or service beyond himself is something that he can't even comprehend. So the danger to that is we are yet again in a situation where we have a commander-in-chief, this time Donald Trump, that is using our military to support his big donors, the big oil companies. I mean, let's be honest about what this is all about. The United States used its military to depose a foreign leader to gain access to natural resources, oil and minerals, for large companies. And Donald Trump was very, very clear about that yesterday. Never once did he mention democracy and freedom for the people of Venezuela. But he talked over a dozen times about oil companies and the money that they can make in Venezuela. So he's pretty honest about it, actually. My job is to make sure that our service members are not used and abused for the benefit of the elites and the wealthy in Donald Trump's family.
Yeah, we all should be shocked that the businessman is talking about other countries as a business acquisition. Congressman Jason Crow, thank you so much for coming on The Weekend.